Hello and welcome to Netcode-Hub channel. In today's video, we are diving into something both powerful and exciting. That is gRPC. Have you heard of it before? If no, then don't worry. I'll break it down in a simple terms and show you exactly why it is a valuable tool for modern applications. Let's start with just a quick question. Have you ever wondered how different systems talk to each other? Especially when they are separated by networks or need to be lightning fast. Imagine you are using an online store on your phone or on web to check the latest product or add something to your cart. In this scenario, the app needs a quick, efficient way to get all the information that you need about the product in real time. You shouldn't waste time at all. That is where gRPC steps in. Think of gRPC as a high-speed, reliable messenger between your app and the server, making sure everything loads and updates quickly. If so, then what exactly is gRPC? gRPC stands for Google Remote Procedure Call. It is a way of applications to communicate seamlessly, even across different platforms and languages. It is designed to be fast and efficient, unlike the older method which might be slower or more complex. It's very simple. So in this video, I'll guide you and we're going to focus on building CRUD, that is create, read, update, and delete. We're going to set up for managing product in our application. So by the end of you watching this video, you have a clear understanding of how gRPC works in a real-world scenario, and you will be equipped to create powerful APIs with it. If you find this video helpful, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Netcode-Hub for more hands-on .NET and Blazor tutorials. Let's get started. Make sure you have your Visual Studio 2022 or higher get installed. We're going to create a project that's going to be, and we're going to use the gRPC template. Let's get into it. So our project is created. Now I want to show you the solution. We have some files in here. Now I believe you have basic knowledge in web APIs in .NET, and it's exactly the same. Like we see from here, we have a folder known as the Protos, and we have the services. For you to understand this, the Protos looks like the interface that we do create in our .NET web API. And aside from that, after creating these interfaces, we need to create their implementations, and that is where the services come in. So Proto is going to handle your interface, and now the service here is going to handle the implementation. But the Protos file that you're going to create is not only for the server. Client also going to use that. Now when you are done with this, you guys are going to understand how clients can also use this. So we're going to create a Protos file in here. And aside from that, we're going to create implementation in the service. We register it, and that is all. It's quite simple as compared to .NET API, what we do know, or what we have been doing. So let's see. Now when we are done creating this Protos, that's what we're going to be using to test our system map. And make sure you have Postman also installed, because that is what you're going to use to test our application. So let's create our Proto file. Alright, so here let's specify the syntax version for this Proto file. So that's the reason why we're saying the version is Proto 3. Aside from that, we want to set the namespace and which is going to be using for better organization to avoid naming conflict in case you have a lot. So you want to give it a unique name, and that is the project name .protos. And also when we come to the next line, that is the import here. What are we doing? We want to import empty Google message. So you can see that's an empty.proto, and we also import that, and that is what we're going to be using it in our service. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do here is we define the package name, and that is a product package product. That is the name for this package. Now we have a message. Now this message is a product structure that we need. So you can see we have an int as an ID, we have name, description, and price. But I could see that beside each property there's an ID. There is a tag. So this is a unique tag, and this is going to be using for the gRPC to handle the data well. So this is the tag, and each tag should be unique. So that's the reason why we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So each is a unique, and that's what's going to be used to handle data representation in here. So we have same in each of them. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is, for each service, we need to create request and a response. So from here we have this get product. Now for get this product, since this is going to be for get only product by ID, we want to provide the request as an ID. Now when you come here, we want to have access to get product list. And with the product list, we want to, since we have this product already, we want to repeat it so we can get in the form of list. So repeated product, and we give it a name as product. This is for create product. We specify the properties that we need. So we want to pass in name, description, and then price. Each has a tag 1, 2, and 3. For ID, we're going to add it ourselves. Now when you go to update, and for update, you can see that here we have an ID, we have name, description, and price. So that is the properties that we need. We need an ID so we can fetch it out from the list that we have. Then we can update it based on the properties and values that we have in here. So that is the, let's say, the DTOs that we have in here, right? So these are the DTOs. That's what we're going to be using to create, get, update, and now delete. Now we have the last one, that is delete, and we need to add that. Now delete will enable us to delete, and now for delete we need only an ID for that. So we can just copy one of these and add it as delete product request. So we need only an ID for this, and that's the reason why we have this in here. So you can see we are having all for the CRUD. We have our create, we have our read, we have update, then we have our delete in here. Now let's go in there and then create our service. So let's say these are the service interfaces. Now take a look. From the get product, it takes in this get product request. And now here, this get product request takes in an ID. So when you check it over here, it takes an ID. And it's going to return product. So when we make a search, we need to return this product. Now check the next one. We have list product. And now for list product, we want to get, or we are not specifying, we are not passing in any parameter. So you want to pass in as empty message as a request. So request is empty, and this will able to work because we have imported this empty message. Then we want to return product list. Now product list here, it is a list of this product. So it's a repeated of this product message that we have created. And now we're saying product. So it is going to be a list. Then for when you go to the create, it is create product. We have it over here, and it's going to return a product. So after it has been created, we want to return that product model. Aside from that, we need to use an update product, and now it takes in the ID, name, description, and price, and we want to return the product. When you go to delete, we want to pass the delete product request, which takes an ID. As soon as we get an ID, we want to return empty, because here after we've deleted, we don't want to return anything, but you can decide to return the product itself. If you want to return the product itself, then you can clear this and I'll specify this product here. But with this, we don't want to do that. So these are the services that we need for our product. We have our DTOs created over here. Then we have our import and let's say the setups done on top here. Great. So you can see this looks similar to our normal API that we do create. We have our DTOs. Then we're going to have our interface. Now let's go in and create our implementation. But before we do that, we need to make sure we build the project so we can add this, or manually we can do it. So have a look in here. Now when you check the default one as grid.proto, now with this, when you go to the package or the project reference, it has been added here. So we can do save, we can make a copy of this, and instead of the grid, we're going to say it is what? Product. So we have it set. Now, aside from that, let's go to the solution, right click on this product, go to properties, and then make sure you have it in a protobuf compiler like this. Then click on OK. Now let's go and build this project. So when you cross check, it is saying that product is not defined. So let's go to our Proto and check it up. So here we're using this product. And when we check, okay, so this should be in uppercase. That is case sensitive. So you must be sure. Let's do it again. And you can see it is succeeded. Let's go and create our service. So that is all we need to do. Now, when we check here from the start, we are inheriting from the Proto file that we created. Now, this is going to be generated automatically for us. And that's a product Proto service base is going to be generated. Now, in that, we are overriding the method that we specified. As I told you earlier on, these are, let's say they are the interface. So we need to implement them, and we're overriding this method. So the method name should match exactly with what we specify in the Proto file. Great. And in here, you see we are not implementing database right away. We are having this list and in memory here to keep things up. To make this simple, for this get, like you see, this get product contains an ID. So with this ID, we can make it a search from here. Now, when generating this Proto file, when you're creating it, the names here are in lowercase. But have a look. Example is this get product. You can see it's in lowercase, right? Go to the service and now check from the request. It is in uppercase. Because here, as soon as you generate, it takes this as a private and I generate a public variable for them. And in the public, we have these IDs as capital letters or case. Great. Then we are checking. In case it is not, we can return status code.not found, which is coming from gRPC. Okay. And in case it does, then you're going to return type from result. We pass in the return type that should match exactly with the type that we specified here. The same thing applies to when it comes to the list product. We want to pass in an empty request because when you check the Proto file, you can see from the service we pass in just an empty. So it should match exactly same as what you have specified in there. And we want to we create a list of this product response, which takes in a repeated of product. So in that, check it up. It takes in a repeated of product. That is product list. So there's a product list. And I'm going to generate 8 public variable, which is going to be the list as well. And in that, we can get it, add the list that we have in here, and I'll return it. In case the count here is equal to 0, you know what to do. So product not found. Then we're going to go to the create. So we do same. This create contains the model that we specified as our DTOs. Then in that, we're going to create an object, and I'll add it to the list that we have. Return the same object to the user. Then we have an update product, which takes in the same object as ID, name, description, and price. In that, we want to search for the ID. When we get it, we want to update them, and I return the same product, or I return null in case the product is not found. When it comes to delete, we're doing same. It takes an ID from the request. We search it from over here. In case we do, get it out of the list, and I return empty. Because when you check this Proto file, delete should return empty. So it should match exactly what we have specified. So that is a CRUD operation that we have specified, or we have performed the implementation here from our Proto service. Great. The next thing to do here is you need to register this service. So let's go to the solution, the program.cs file, and you can see we have a default one registered already. So we're going to also make a copy of this, and I'll pass in our product service. And that is all we need to do. So when you compare creating a gRPC and creating web API, you can see this is quite simple, isn't it? Yeah, simple and great. All right, so now we are done with this, we can go ahead and now run this application. So let's see. Now when you go to our solution, to our properties, you can see we have this line settings, and in there we have some profiles in here as an HTTP and HTTPS. We can run any of them. But as soon as we run on this, it becomes an HTTPS. So let's hit on that and let's run it and check it out. Yeah, so it is run, as you can see from the line beneath. And here we are not having any UI, so we can access it like a Swagger in .NET API. Nope. So we can see from a console that, hey, the app is running, it is kicking. As you can see from here, we have all the ports listening, the type here as HTTPS and also the HTTP. They are all active. Now, how do we test to see if this is working? Don't worry. Make sure you launch your Postman. And now when you launch your Postman, click on this new. And then here you can see we have this template that we can choose from. Now we want to use this gRPC because that is what we have created its service. So click on the gRPC. And now when it opens, we need to load the Proto file. Do you remember the Proto file? Let's first try with the default one. That is a grid.proto file in there. And after that, we're going to test our own. So click on this and click on import Proto file. go to the root folder of your project, and that is a demo gRPC product service. So click on that. Then you can see we have this Protos folder. Open it. Now we have two Protos here. We can first test the grid. That is the default one with us, or which says hello. So let's select this. After we're done, click on import, and that is all. Check it out. If I click on this drop down, you can see I have say hello. Now with this, let's try to get this and see. So invoke this. Now we need to include the URL, isn't it? Now you can decide to use, since you're having both HTTPS and HTTP, we can grab this. If you're using a HTTP, grab this localhost. Let's go in here and I'll paste it, and let's activate this as enable TLS and click on invoke, and now we might see the hello response from our server. If you want to check, you can just put a breakpoint and I'll check it up. So go to the solution. Now from your greeter service, this is what it is getting. Now put a breakpoint in here, and now let's go and do it again. Invoke this, and you can see it is hit. So as you can see from, they can just step out, and you can see we have the message over here, and that is what is going to return. So continue, and we have the message over here. Alright, so with after we are done with this is the default one. Let's go in and do our own. So click on this, new, then gRPC, then I'm going to do same, so you can also do that. Import Protos, then choose the product.protos, and in here let's go and import it. As soon as you're done, you can see we have all the services that we created. Now let's first create product. So with this, go to the message, and here we need should be in a JSON format. So that is what we need. We need name, description, and price. So when you check your Protos, the message that you create, or the DTOs, we need the name, description, and price. Check the create, name, description, and price. So this is what we need. Now let's go in and click on invoke, and here we need to paste in the, so we can grab it from the normal one over here. Let's go and paste it up, enable this TLS, and I invoke it. So it should return the same product. Now let's go back and we can just grab this. Okay, let's add another one. Let's say this is product 2, product description 2, and create. Let's invoke, and now we have it. ID is 2. We can add one more, and now ID is going to be 3. So with this, let's go to list product, click on invoke, and you can see we have the product list. Now let's check by ID. So it means we have to remove. Let's grab a copy. Let's remove all this. Specify only ID, and I want to say 1. ID as 1. Invoke this, and we should have ID of 1. Product, when we say 2, we should also have it. This is working. Now let's say if I click on update, we have ID of 2. So there is you want to update product 1. So there's going to be an ID, and you're going to say this product 1. So let's say product 1 updated. So product 2 description, product 1 description also updated. And now let's see, we have this. Okay, now that is a okay, so you have an ID, that is a name, description, and price. That's for product 1. So let's see, if I click on invoke, it's updated. Now let's go back to get product, and we need only the ID of 1. Invoke this, and we see we have it over here. Now let's try to delete. We want to delete the same product ID, and it should return empty. Now let's go and get our list. Get our list, because you have it. Now let's see, let's try to get a product out of range, so that is 10. Execute this, and we should have an exception. So check it out. So we're going to throw an exception, product not found. Click on continue and check it out. So not found, right? And now there is a message, requested product not found. So you can see that we have been able to create a simple gRPC service which works similar to an API, but which is very fast and secured as well. So thank you for watching. I hope this video has given you a clear understanding of how gRPC works and how you can use it to build fast, reliable APIs for tasks like CRUD operations. As you have seen, gRPC can really simplify communication between different parts of an application, making everything run smoother. Stay tuned for more because there are a lot of features that we're going to implement in the next video. So stay tuned and keep safe. Hi, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. In our last video, we built a gRPC service from scratch using .NET 8, and we explored the basics of setting up high-speed, reliable APIs. If you haven't checked that out yet, I highly recommend starting there to get up to speed. In this video, we are taking it to the next level. Many applications rely on standard RESTful APIs to interact with HTTP methods like post, get, update, and delete if you want to perform your CRUD operation. So today, I will show you how you can convert your gRPC service into a RESTful API. This way, you will get the best of both worlds. A gRPC service that is high performance for internal calls, and a RESTful API that is accessible for broader use across different clients. So if you are excited to make your gRPC service even more versatile, please like the video, subscribe, and let's dive right in it. This is a project that we started, and you can see that we created a solution. We chose our gRPC template, and now in that we did just few things to make this work. All that we did was to create our Proto file for our product, and there's like the interface. We have our details and our interface that we created. Aside from that, in .NET world, when you create an interface, definitely going to create implementation with it same as a service in the product service, and we're able to perform the tasks that you want to do as soon as that specific interface is being called. That is all. After that, we added a service that we created. We registered that and it exposed it. This is quite simple. So working with gRPC is quite simple. Now let's see. We have our CRUD operation or our CRUD interface in our Proto here. So this is what we're going to be using to communicate between the client and the server. We have them specified in the service. Now, how do we enable this in a RESTful API? Normally, we know front end needs to post, to get, to delete, to update. How can this be possible? Let's see. So first of all, we need to install some two packages. That is what we're going to be using. In making your RESTful API, there are so many ways of doing it. One is using JSON transcoding, and that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. First of all, in order for us to use that, we need to install that package, JSON transcoding, and we need to install gRPC.tools. Let's get them installed. So these are the packages that you need to install: Microsoft.ASP.NET Core, .gRPC.JSON transcoding, and also gRPC.tools. Now get these packages installed. So now if I go to my dependencies and check my packages, I'm going to see these packages there when they are restored. Let's wait to see. And yes, of course, you can see we have them installed in here. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we need to add Proto file for HTTP and also an annotation. Now we can get them from this link. So when you open your browser, you can go to GitHub. I'll put them in the video description. So we need this an http.proto, and also we need the annotations.proto, and that is a link that you can go in for. GitHub.com, you have Google APIs, Google APIs, you have blob master Google APIs, API/annotation.proto, and that is what you can even search it through the Google search, and you're going to have access. Just search for annotation.proto and you can get this link, and I'm getting to it. So we're going to copy this, and we're also going to copy this http.proto. We need two files here in order to enable our RESTful API endpoint in this gRPC service. So let's grab the first one. Let's copy this. Let's go to your solution. Now in your project, we want to create a folder. We want to make sure that we have the same link as specified in here, Google API, and then we have our Proto file. So let's rename this to Google. Let's add another folder in it, APIs, and then let's go and create Proto file. So we go to add new item, then let's search for Proto. So we need protocol buffer file, that is protobuf. So let's make sure this is HTTP. You know what we copied? Let's look at it well. We copied annotation, so this should be annotations. So we have annotations.proto file, and in here, after it gets created, we're going to paste what we have. So we can just copy this, and now let's paste this. We don't need to go through this. It's a file that we need to add to enable us to work with the HTTP methods. Okay, so now we have annotations over here copied and pasted. Now when you check again, we also need the HTTP. So we go to the HTTP, that is an http.proto. So let's also grab this. And we also paste it here. So we also have the HTTP in there. So these are the two files that we need to enable that. Now after we are done with this, we need to go to the product service, and that is the Proto file, the product.proto, in the Protos folder. And in there, we're going to expose this endpoint. So let's do it. So that is what we need to do. Now check it out. We have this is going to be our get product by ID. So this is going to be our route. That HTTP method here, or the verb here, is get, and then we need a product and the ID. This ID is going to be the parameter is going to be supplied. Now let's check the list product. It is get and it is /product. So this is going to be the route. So it looks like the same way that you're going to expose your endpoint in your API. And then we have this is post method, we have our put method, and that is going to be the delete. So with the update and uncreate, you know, it's going to accept a payload. So that's going to be the body. We want to accept everything in there, and that is what we need to do. So this is quite simple, just 2 lines. So you can configure your gRPC service into a RESTful API. Good. Now after we are done with this, we need to import. You know, we are using this data annotation, so we need to import that file from the link that we created. You can see we created from Google API and then annotation.proto. So we need to import it in here. So let's do that. So after importing this, the next thing again that we need to do is to add JSON transcoding service. So we can do that from your program file. So you can see from here we are adding gRPC service already. So dot add JSON transcoding. Let's do that. Okay, now that we are done with this, we need to go in and I'll make HTTP1 accessible, which is the RESTful API. So when you go to your line settings, check it out from here. Oh, that is a app setting.json. You can see from the Kestrel server, it's having the default endpoint of HTTP2. That is the gRPC. Now you want to include one so that we can have access to this RESTful API endpoint. So you want to clear this, then say HTTP2, then end. Let's even make it HTTP1, then end HTTP2. So you want our gRPC service to also work whilst we have the API, RESTful API also work. So we want to have both service running. So if you want to call this gRPC service internally, we can do it. Or if you want to expose it the endpoint, so front end can make request, it can also work. So within each, it is taken for front end making a request or RESTful API, it is using the HTTP1, and for internal service call, it's going to be using this HTTP2. So we want to make them both supported. Great. So now that we have this, what is left again for us to do is to run this application and check it out. So you can see that from our console, we're saying that the endpoint is configured to use HTTP1 and HTTP2, but TLS is not enabled. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so now our endpoint supports 2 HTTP, that's a 1 and 2. Let's make sure we have a Postman because we don't have any Swagger, so we can test our endpoint. So we need Postman or something like that to do it. Now in our Postman, we want to test the 2 services, right? So the first one is going to be the gRPC. So let's click on this new. Then let's check if our gRPC is still working. Let's wait. Now in here, let's go and import the Proto file. And that is our product.proto. So we choose this. And we can go to import, and you can see as soon as we are done with that, if I click on this, we're going to have our endpoint here, right? Now let's go in there and create something. So we'll click on this message, and now let's do it. Okay, so this is our message, that's our body, and this should correspond with the Proto or our detail that we created. When you check our product.proto, we have the name, description, and price. And when you check the create, it takes in name, description, and price. So we must make sure that we have same as what we set up there. After we are done with that, let's get the endpoint here. So let's go to our console. We can work with the HTTP. So let's grab this local host. Then in there, paste it, and now enable TLS, and now click on invoke. We are creating product, so we should get a success response if this works. And of course it worked. So you can see we have it. Now let's make another one. So we make it as 2, and that is a description of 2. We can add one more, invoke this, and this should also work. Good, we have it. Let's add one more to 3. Then we can say product 3. Now let's invoke this, and this is also working. So we can test the other endpoint to see, get list product. Check it out. We have all the 3 products that we added. We have them working, right? And now we are using this gRPC or Proto file to make this call. Now, out of in case we want to have our HTTP call, let's see. So click on new, and now here we're going to choose an HTTP. No more gRPC. Now with HTTP, we're going to copy our link. So let's go and grab our link from here. Let's paste it. This is get, and here we're going to say it is product. The controller name, let's say the controller name here is product. If I click on send, I should get the same product response. You can see we have it. Now I can also get it by 1. So by specifying only 1, make a send, and I should get that specific product because I have it here. Now if I want to update, I'll need to provide with a post. Then maybe I can go to the first one, the message body, grab this, and I'll go back to the HTTP, and now here I go to the body, then choose raw, and now come and choose JSON. Let's paste this. Let's specify the ID. The ID is 1, and you want to say product 1 updated. Product 1 updated. We can also say that product 1 description. We can also update this as well. Let's reduce the price. Okay, now click on send. We're making, okay, so this should be put. So let's make it as put, and we have that, right? Let's see, execute this, and this should work now. Good, it's working. Now we can go out there and I'll make get product 1, and I'll check it up. You can see we have it updated. We can also get the list from get a product list, and we have the product 1 updated. So in these simple terms, we've seen how we can convert our gRPC service into RESTful API. Stay tuned for the next one where we integrate a lot of features in this. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe and also hit on the notification button to receive updates as soon as I upload new one. Stick around for the next video on gRPC. Hi, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel, where we dive deep into .NET development. In my last 2 videos, we tackled some exciting topics. First, I showed you how to create a gRPC service from scratch, and then we explored how you can convert that gRPC service into a RESTful API, so front end can make an HTTP call to it. If you missed those, then I highly recommend you checking them out to get up to speed. You would find the links in the video description below. Today, we are taking it a step further. I'm going to show you how to make an internal call from a console app to your gRPC service. This is perfect for scenarios where you need an efficient, real-time communication within your systems. Then, we're going to enhance our gRPC service with JWT authentication, adding a secure layer to ensure only authorized access. This is essential knowledge for everyone building secure and scalable APIs. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have the tools to make authenticated internal gRPC calls directly from a console application. So are you ready to level up your .NET skills? Then let's dive in. So in the previous video, we created a gRPC service, choosing the template. We added our protos, then we configured our interfaces. After that, we created a service that's going to be the implementation. And that is all that we did. We registered a service, and the service was active, and we could make a call. The next video, we spoke about how we can convert this app into a RESTful API, so that front end can make an HTTP call to this. So we added 2 notations files. These are Google files, so annotation.proto, then http.proto. We added this, and in our Proto product file, we imported this annotation over here, and we configured or made an exposure of endpoint. Good. Now we're going to look at how we can integrate JWT and also how we can make an API call without calling this RESTful API. How you can make an internal call to this gRPC service in your project. So first of all, we need to add console app. So you can add any, it could be a web API, it could be console app, it could be anything at all. Okay, let's use console app. Now we're going to right click on solution and add this service, this console app. So let's do that. So now that we have our project created or added to our default project, we need to install packages which will enable us to make this possible. We need 3 packages. We need a Google.Proto, we need .NET client, and also we need the tools. These packages are there to enable us to do what you want to do today. So let's get them installed. So we need these packages. Google.Proto, so install this. When you are done, install gRPC.NET.client. When you are done, install gRPC.tools. So these are the 3 packages that we need for now. So after the installation is done, we have to see our applications listed in the application section. And good, we have them here. So we are done with our installation. The next thing that we're going to do here is, we have our interface, that is our Proto file created. We need to inject our Proto file in here, and that is our product.proto file. We need to inject it here because this Proto file contains some abstractions or maybe the interfaces that we can make a call to. This interface therefore both the server and the client to understand what is going on and what they can call and what they can process. So we need to include that. Remember that we created this Proto file in the product service. So we need to locate that product service and add that file in our client here. This is a console app, so we can make a call with it. So let's do that. In order to do it, for organization purpose, let's try to create a folder. And here we're going to name this as Protos. Then we can right click on this, then go to add existing item, go to the Protos folder in your product service. So this is going to be the console, so you want to locate the product service. This is the product service. Now in the Protos, you can see that when you select all, we have the product.proto file in here. This is what we want, so make sure you choose this. So now when we come here, we need to format this a little bit. Now this is just a client, so we don't need all the server stuffs in here. We can implement the empty Proto, but for these annotations we don't need them because we are not exposing any RESTful API here. All that you need is quite simple, this file. So we need to change the namespace because it is different. The whole service is demo gRPC service, so let's assume that is the solution name. Okay, this is also possible, we can maintain that, but when you come here, the package name is product and the whole app here, this is product, so we can change this. So you can just make these changes here, but that is not what we want to focus most here. When you look at this, we have our details overset. Then here we have our product service. Now we have these annotations configured by exposing this to the endpoint. So in this, if you're trying to make a call, we are not making a HTTP call. We rather want to make a gRPC call. So it means we need to remove all this. So let's streamline this. Okay, so we have these are interfaces, what we need. Product Proto service. So after we are done adding this, go to right click on the same file, go to properties, and inside the properties we want to make sure we set the build type or compile type as Proto buff. Then so from the build action, set to Proto compiler. Then from the classes, here it is not for server and client, it's for only clients, so choose client only. So this is going to generate a client file during building. Now let's close this. We need to rebuild this project. So right click on solution, then rebuild solution. Alright, so it is built, so we have two succeeded. Now that we have our file included, let's go and make a call. So when you go to your program.cs file, that is where we can make a gRPC call here, since it's a console app. So you want to do everything here. So let's start working with this. Alright, so we can see that from here we are creating our endpoint, or we are calling this create product endpoint in our service, the gRPC service. Now the first thing that we're going to do here is we need to create a channel. The channel is whereby we configure and specify our gRPC address. So where can you get this address? You go to your line settings in your gRPC, and you can see in there you can copy your address. That's an HTTPS, so you copy this address and you configure it in here through the channel. Now when you're done with this, we want to get this Proto service. Now product Proto service client is going to be created automatically when you build a project. So after adding this Proto file and building the project, you must have access to this. So we can call this, since we're creating a client, we need to pass in the channel so we can have a complete client ready and created. After that, we want to handle our create endpoint. So that is create, we are adding two items in here. So we can call the client, which has all the APIs, both for synchronous and asynchronous. So we're using the asynchronous to get a response over here. And now you want to return the response to the console so we can see we're doing the same thing. So we're adding two products, product 1, product 2. And now when this is being added, we must see the current record with the ID. Currently we are not having an ID, but as soon as it's done adding, we are going to see the ID, because when we check our product service, we're going to return the ID of the product. That's our product service. So after it has been added, when we check from our create, you can see we have specified the ID over there. So after it is done, you need to return this response, which is the product which has been added. Okay, so now that we have this, we can run this and check if our create endpoint is active and working. But before we can do that, we must make sure that our service is running already. So let's go to let's right click on the gRPC service, go to debug and start without debugging. Once this is running, we can go ahead and run the main one. So you can see this running over here at a port of HTTPS, that is 7200, and that is exactly what we have here. Now let's go and run this console app. So choose that and then let's hit on it to get it run. Now when this is running, it's going to display it and quickly get off. We want to maintain the screen, so let's add console.readline. So let's watch here, and you can see that the endpoint has been called, and now we are having the ID of 3 and 4. The first one called and we had an ID of 1 and 2, but the screen just went off. And now here we have the console, which is returning 3 and 4. When we call this again, it's going to have 5 and 6. Check it out. Yeah, so you can see we have 5 and 6. So these endpoints are working. Now we can call our server endpoint to the create and it's going to work. Good. Now let's see, after we've create, let's see how to get all. So the next line, so in here, this is what we need to do. We can get the list. Now when you check our service that we created, the interface, the list product takes in this request method. Now this request here is an empty because we're going to get the list. We are not specifying any filtering or anything in it. So we want to get everything from the server, and here we need to pass in this empty. We did this because when you check our solution and when you check this product service, from list of product, let's even go to the Protos. From list of product, you can see that here this list product returns empty. It takes in an empty and it returns product list, which is a repeated of this product over here. So the same thing applies to what we're doing over here. We need to pass in this empty as a parameter, and now we're going to return the list of product. In that, we want to loop through and now display that. Good. So let's run this again too and check it out. Yes, so you can see that here this was added, ID of 1, 7 and 8 product was added. Now we are having up to 1 up to 8. So this is coming from the server, and based on this list we can get it. The same thing applies if you want to delete it, if you want to update it, it is possible. So you can try your hands on the rest, the 2 or the 3 left, and it's going to work. If you have any issue, put it in the comments below. Alright, so now that we have this, let's see how do we add authentication to this. If I want to protect this endpoint, how is it possible? Can I do it? Let's see how we can integrate that. Now, before we can do this, we need to first generate a JWT token, and this token will be added to the header of the client when making a call. So when we are done generating the token from the server, that is going to be the gRPC service, a client needs to call this endpoint over there and get the token. Now when we get a token, we can append this token to the header of a call, gRPC call in the console app, and then we can make a direct call to the gRPC service. So let's see how we're going to do that. Let's stop everything here. Okay, now we need to first install some packages to the gRPC service. So let's go and do that. So these are the packages that we need. We need a Microsoft.ASP.NET-Core.Authentication.JWT bearer. We need authorization, and we need system.identityModels.tokens.JWT. These are the 3 packages that we need. So pause the video and I install this one after the other. Make sure you do that to the gRPC service. So after restoring this package and reloading it with dependencies, you might see them in the dependencies packages. We have to see them here, and of course we have them over here. Great. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a Proto file which is going to handle our authentication, and in there we need to define our models or our DTOs, and also method that we can generate a token with. So let's go to our Protos in the gRPC service. Maybe we can copy, we have this here, we can copy one. Let's copy our product.proto, and in here we're going to change this as, let's say, auth. And now with this we can say that here we want to rename this file. So after we rename this file, we can maintain the syntax, the namespace, and we don't need annotations. We need only the empty one. And here we can say this is authentication. Then within a message, you want to remove this and specify a simple, that is create identity response. We are not going to accept anything from the user, so we're going to say this is string, the token that we're going to have, and this equal to 1. Okay, Now we can remove all these details. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our Proto service. So this is going to be Auth Proto service. Then let's specify only one method or one interface in it. So the method that we have created here takes in empty, and you're going to generate the token and return this. So this is going to be the response, and here the response we have the token set in here. Okay, so this is all that we need to do to make our JWT service working. After we are done with this, let's go and create implementation for this interface. So let's save this. Let's go to our solution. So in the services folder, that's where we need to do it. So let's do that. But in order for us to get this Proto base file, we need to first build this project. So we make sure that with this auth, we have access properties, then server only, we have it set up in here. Great. After we have this, we can go ahead and build this project. So it is saying that this is not defined, and then the issue is coming from this should be uppercase, and of course it is stand. So that was an issue. So let's go back in here. So that is what we're doing to create our token. You can see we override the method, and in there we have our expiration date. We want to add just an hour. We create our claims. For now, we are not having any different or any specific claim. So we want to add just a sub with a new guild ID over here. Then we want to create our key. Here we need to pass in your secret key. And then we need to create a credential based on the key that we have with the security algorithm. After that, we can go ahead and generate our token. We specify the issuer and the audience, which is the same service as an address for this gRPC service. We need our claim, that's what we have. Expiration is what we have. Then our signing credentials, we have them over there, and we create it. After that, you want to write a token, convert it into a string, and I return it to this create identity response, because that is what this method is taking. And we need to return same instance. Okay, so now that we have this auth service, you can go ahead, then let's register the service. So go to your program, then you see we have product service, so let's add one more, then say authentication service. Good. Then the thing that we're going to do here is, after you are done registering the service, we need to register the JWT service also here. So let's do that. Alright, so we have added our authentication service with our JWT by default. Aside from that, we also specified our token validation parameters by making sure we validate the audience, the issuer, the lifetime, and the signing key. And then we need to provide the issuer and the audience. So we copy this from the address or what we did in the service. Then we get our issuer signing key over here, which takes in the encoding of this UTF-8 of the security key that we need to provide in here. Okay, so after that we have this service registered, we need to go in there and use the authorization service. Then let's add the middleware pipeline for authentication and authorization. So we are done with our service and it is running. Now when we go and run this, we can import our auth.proto and we can now generate a token. Let's give it a try. So we can do that by making sure our gRPC service is running. So let's run this and check our endpoint for authentication out to get the token. Now while this app is starting, let's make sure we have our Postman open, but that's what we're going to use to asset. Now click on new and now let's go for gRPC and let's say there's also run over there, so we can grab the address from here. Let's go and paste it, enable TLS, then let's go and import the proto file. So from here you can see we have our 3 protos. Let's choose the auth. Now let's go and import this. So as soon as you do that, you see we have our generate token service in there because that is what we define. Now select this and now we need to invoke this and which will return a token. Let's wait for it. So we have our token over there. You see that? If I invoke this again, we're going to have a different token. Check this out. Now this ending with R0, right? So you can see from here, if I click on invoke again, let's see, you can see we have a different token altogether. Good. So this is working. Now let's go and authorize this. Let's go and protect our endpoint that we have in our gRPC service with authorized attribute, and then we can make a call here and I'll get a response when we add this token to the header in our client. So in this auth service, not the auth service, go to solution. In your product service, you can see that we created another service known as a product service. In here, all that we're going to do is to add a header. So with this, let's say there's a get product by ID. You want to do that. Now from list, we need to add. So let's add authorization. This authorized. Now go to create product. You want to also authorize that. So before you can access this, you must be authorized. Let's run this and check this out again. So we have our service running, and let's go to our Postman, and here this is for auth service. Let's get another one. So here it is also gRPC. We have the same address, so let's grab that, enable TLS, and let's go and import the same Proto file. So we need this product, and here we need to create. So let's import this first. Okay, now you can have all the endpoint. Now create is protected, so let's go to message body and let's try to add message. Now if I click on invoke, let's see what will happen. Now check it out. You see we have the status code of 16 and it is saying that unauthenticated. So we're not authenticated. And the HTTP status was at 401. You know, in 401 means you're not authorized. Yes, because we are having this authorized attribute on top, and it should prevent you from accessing this if you're not authorized. So how do we authorize it? Now let's go and add a header. So to do that, we have to add header to the call that we make before we can call that. So let's see. Now in the console app, let's make a call here to create. In the console app, let's run the console app. So we have the service running already. So this is what we need to do. Let's run this service, gRPC service, start without debugging. Then let's make sure we set our console app. So while this is running, we can run this console app. Now when you run this console app, initially it's going to create, watch here, in the console app, it's going to create 2 endpoints, but it's going to give you an issue, 401, not authorized, unauthenticated. You see that? Because here we are going to create it, and this create endpoint is protected, and we are not passing any token at all. So we're going to have this issue. So maybe we can call an authentication service, and I get a token, and I'll add a token in here. You see? So that is what you need to do first. Okay, but let's say we have the token over here. So this is our token. So we can grab this. Let's grab this token. Copy this. Now let's stop this console app. Now before we create, we want to add this to this, the header right before. So let's handle that. How do we add header? This is quite simple. You can say that this is a header. It's equal to new. You can use this metadata. Now with this metadata, we can specify this. So what is the content type and what is the value? So the content type here is going to be an authorization. So let's say this is authorization. And then we need to specify the value here. And you know, with the bearer, we need to specify the bearer space, and then we pass in our token in there. Okay. So this is what we need to do in the header. Now we need to close this. So we have this as a header. Now within that, how do we use it? We can grab this. Then once you create, aside from creating, we can pass in other call options, including the header. So we can pass in these headers here. Now the same thing applies to this. Let's pass in the header over here to make it work. And when reading, we need to also pass in the header. Now let's try this again and check it out. Now there shouldn't be any authorized issue anymore. Yes, and now we have it. So this is protected. Token has been added to the header, and then we can now make a call. So you've seen how we can create authentication token and get a JWT. We've seen how to register that, and also how to make a call, add the token to the header, and how to make a client call through the gRPC service. So you can try your hands on the other one. Let's get a single product, update and delete. And all that you need to do here is, if you want to protect it, then add the authorized attribute. After adding this authorized attribute, you make sure you add the header to the call before you can push it to the gRPC service. And that is it for this series of gRPC. So thank you for tuning in, and now we know how to make secure authenticated gRPC call from a console app using JWT in .NET. If you find this video helpful, then make sure you like and subscribe for more .NET tips and tutorials, and don't forget to check out my previous videos on setting up and converting gRPC services to RESTful API. If you are having in mind that in your service you don't want to call it internally, but rather you want to expose it to the outside world where client or front end can make direct requests using HTTP. The links are in the video description. So let me know in the comments what you would like to integrate this with. Until then, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next video.